That's why I make my font really big.
Well, it would be 33 pages if I made it that big.
God.
Okay. So, here we go. So this week's episode is based on the Murdaugh family. They're from Hampton County, South Carolina. The incidents that are occurring are fairly recent compared to the other stories that we've covered in the past episodes. So I want to acknowledge that I in no way mean to exploit or offend any of the friends or family of the victims. And I sincerely apologize if anything is said that anyone involved did not want to publicize. However, there is a Netflix documentary that came out in February of 2022 that does mention all of the details I will be discussing. So I would take it up with Netflix if there's any information you wish to be withheld.
It's been out for a while then, huh?
Oh, yeah. This is a disclaimer. Okay. This story takes place in the low country of South Carolina in a town called Hampton County, as I mentioned earlier. So, we have the Murdaugh family tree. So they have been, like, pretty much law and order for 100 years.
Okay.
In Hampton County. They have been, like, there's Randolph Murdaugh Sr. He started all of this. He was born in 1887. He was an attorney and politician, and he, like, started doing all this law stuff in 1920, and then he died in 1940 when his car got stuck in the train tracks and he got hit by a freight train.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That was how he went. So yeah. Then
what are the odds?
There's Randolph Buster Murdaugh Jr. He was Randolph Sr.'s son.
Okay.
And then John Glenn Johnny Murdaugh, born 1918, Randolph Sr.'s other son. Then there's Randolph Murdaugh III. He is Randolph Jr.'s only son, born in 1939. And there's Richard Alex Murdaugh, born 1958. He is kind of the one we talk about mostly in this episode. And then Maggie Murdaugh was Alex's wife.
Okay.
She was born in 1968, so they have a 10-year difference.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Paul Murdaugh, he was born in 1999. He is Alex and Maggie's youngest son. And then there's Buster Murdaugh, who was born in 1996, and he is Alex and Maggie's oldest son.
Okay. You might need to remind me of who's who.
Yeah, I know. It's a very long... It goes back 100 years, so it's a pretty long family tree.
I'm sure you can see the stress on my face. Like, okay.
So the Murdaugh family, they had a law firm together, and they were all, like, the lead prosecutors or DAs. So
they're lawyers?
Yes.
Carley, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this case.
They're like really high up there. Like they're prosecutors and DAs. Like they're really big. They would take they took both sides of the civil cases to criminal cases. They took pretty much everything in Hampton County. Like they would.
So they were the big dogs.
Yes.
Okay.
They were the big dogs. And they had a network of judges, lawyers, law enforcement, and even the people that would serve on the jury. They had a network of those that they were very close with. So
is this a town where like everybody knew everybody, or is it just they knew everybody?
Pretty much everybody knew everybody.
Okay.
I mean, it's like kind of a small town. It's South Carolina, you know. So they own multiple houses, but the Moselle house is the one that they mostly went to, which I'm pretty sure is on like a river. I don't know exactly where Moselle is, but I know that it's like a river house or some shit. I don't know.
Like Tom Sawyer-esque kind of thing?
Tom Sawyer?
Yeah.
Who's that?
You've never read that book?
No, like the Green Thumb?
No.
Who's the Green Thumb? Oh, Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah. I was like, huh? You've never heard Tom Sawyer and like the Tom white picket fence painting and like... No?
It's really familiar, but...
Oh, okay. Well, never mind that.
So, Alex, his name is Alexander, but he goes by Alec.
Okay.
Him and Maggie were very big drinkers. They, so, their son was in his teens. Their youngest son was in his teens, and all his friends would come to the law firm, and they would always have alcohol stacked and give them alcohol and all that stuff. So there was a clearly very big alcohol problem in that family.
Got it. Okay.
And it became a very big problem for Paul, the youngest son.
Got it.
He did not have a close relationship with his mother because his mother was so focused on Buster, his older son. I mean, her older son.
Okay.
Paul's older brother.
Okay.
She was so focused on him because he wanted to follow in Alex's footsteps.
So he wanted to be like a lawyer?
He wanted to be a lawyer. He was going to law school. He wanted to be like his dad. So Maggie ate that shit up. She loved
was like,
it.
Step aside. This is the more important
She
brother.
was like, this is the one I want. And Paul didn't want to be a lawyer. He was like, they described him as like the black sheep of the family.
The disappointment.
Yes.
Okay.
But they had a housekeeper named Gloria Satterfield. That was his mother, pretty much.
Name. Okay.
That was pretty much his mother. Okay. So she raised him since he was like 2.
Oh, wow.
So that's honestly his mother. And I mean, Maggie was so invested with Buster because she was perfect.
Another housemaid.
He went to law school. What?
Another housemaid named Maggie from Lizzie Borden.
No, she's not a housemaid. Maggie's the mom.
Wait. Oh, what was her name then? Sorry, there's so many names.
Gloria Satterfield is the housekeeper.
Got it. Okay.
My housekeeper's name is Gloria, actually. I didn't even put that together.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways.
Sorry.
He was into hog hunting. Paul was into hog hunting, and he owned a lot of dogs. Hence the hogs and dogs.
Okay.
His acceptance and love came from Miss Gloria. They called her Miss Gloria.
Do you know how old Miss Gloria was? Like mother's age or like closer?
I think she was a little bit younger than mother.
Okay.
No, she was older because Gloria was helping the grandparents, Randolph, yes. Okay. So Alex's dad, hired her. And so then Alec
inherited. Okay.
Alec just inherited her pretty much.
Okay, got it.
And so, yeah. So Paul had a girlfriend named Morgan Dowdy. And in the Netflix documentary, it's basically her talking kind of the whole time about her relationship with Paul, and it was really abusive. He was clearly like a narcissist, and then he had an alcohol problem, and it was like really, really bad.
Okay.
And all his friends would call him Timmy when he got drunk because he would do like weird shit with his hands, and he was like not Paul anymore. He would get drunk and he would like not Paul anymore. So they called him Timmy.
Why Timmy?
I have no idea. But they called him Timmy.
That sounds so unassuming.
Yeah. He would go from being like sweet and nice to just disorderly, disrespectful, like after a few drinks, like gnarly. So, I mean, other people would say that Paul looked scary, like he wanted to kill you when he was drunk, and that you could see through him.
I know some of those.
Oh, me too.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but his best friend, Anthony Cook, says that Paul was just trying to understand them.
Okay. That makes sense. I want to murder you. Just trying to understand you.
Straight up. So,
all right.
Paul, he got older. His behavior became more reckless. He started getting in trouble with the law a lot, but never got in trouble because his parents, he has 100-year legacy. So he's not going to get in trouble.
Jesus.
And then, his drinking. People thought that he drank a lot because he loved attention. Because clearly he didn't get it from his mother, so obviously he needs attention.
Okay, that makes sense.
But then other people thought that maybe it was a deeper issue. My opinion, it's probably both. It's probably the deeper issue is his mother not loving him.
It's always the mother.
Yes. Mommy issues. But then Morgan, his girlfriend, told Maggie, the mom, I think he has a problem. He's drinking too much. He's becoming like a nuisance. Like, this is too much. Maggie.
If your girlfriend tells your mother.
Oh. Maggie blew it off, thought it was funny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
She thought it was funny.
Beautiful. But she thinks it's real funny now.
Yeah.
Whatever happened.
Oh, you have no idea, girl. As he got older, it gets worse. He was really close to his grandpa, Randolph Murdaugh III. Okay. Paul would call Randolph when he was in trouble, and then Randolph would call Alec, and then they would come up with a solution. No consequences whatsoever. So this is where it gets a little intense. So there's a boat crash, February 2019.
Okay.
Paul and his 5 friends wanted to go to an oyster roast, which is basically when it gets cold. See, this is why my thing is 11 pages, so I can explain what an oyster roast is. So basically when it gets cold out in Hampton County, they all get together and they roast oysters.
Aren't you supposed to eat oysters raw?
I have no fucking clue, but that's what they do. When it gets cold, people roast oysters and party.
Sounds like a party.
So his friend.
So do they still do this?
I'm sure that. I mean, this is 2019.
We should have an oyster. No, I don't want
oysters. I do not want. I am not gonna. Ew, fuck that. Nuh-uh.
Oh, we can have a sushi party.
Oh yes, sushi party. Fuck yeah! You have to come over to my house when we make sushi.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
It's so fun because we have like the little like wood things, and we have the seaweed, and then we get the rice, and my dad makes it so it's like the rice vinegar, like, and then we just, it's so bomb. And then they cut up like cucumber.
Invite me over next time.
Yes, absolutely, I will. Anyways, Paul and 5 of his friends wanted to go to the oyster roast. His friends were Mallory Beach, Anthony Cook, Morgan Dowdy, his girlfriend, but they had broken up when they're going on the trip. They had broken up because she was like, I'm done with this. She was like, I'm done with this. Good. And then Connor Cook, who is Anthony's cousin. Okay. And then Miley Altman. So Mallory was dating Anthony Cook. And then Morgan was dating Paul, but not anymore at this time. But Morgan wanted to go because she wanted to be with her best friends, because her, Mallory, and Miley, they were like the trio. Like, they were like best friends, the 3 of them. So she was like, I want to go because I want to be with my friends. Okay. Fair enough. And so Connor dating Miley. So it's like it's like a triple. So it
was a triple, but then they broke up. So now it's just like her.
Yes.
Her and then the 2 couples.
Yes.
And him. Okay.
Mallory really wanted to go to the oyster roast, but Anthony didn't. But Mallory convinced him to go. So
I'm assuming something bad happens at this oyster roast.
Yeah. Okay. So Paul and Morgan, they had broken up recently due to physical, verbal abuse from Paul, because Timmy would come out and he would be a piece of shit. Timmy sucks.
I can't get over the name Timmy. Why Timmy?
I have no idea. I mean, if it's someone that's like all drunk and disorderly, like, I feel like Timmy's kind of a good name.
All I can think of is Timmy from South Park. Timmy.
I just think of Timmy Turner.
Oh.
Or that.
That's why I think it's so weird, because that's all I think. Like, that's the sound that goes through my head when you say Timmy. I'm so sorry.
I get that. No, I get that. I get that.
Anyway, continue.
So Paul took all his friends on the boat and he docked it. It wasn't really clear. I couldn't tell if he docked it at the Moselle house or if he docked it somewhere else, because they explained that they were riding the boat really far and long before they docked. So I was
going to ask, are you supposed to go to like an island or something for this oyster roast?
They're not at the oyster roast yet.
Okay, so they were just
I don't know where they docked. I'm not 100% sure.
Got it.
But they all began drinking very early on. Paul funneled beers before they left the roast. And he's supposed to drive the boat.
No.
Because it's his boat.
Okay.
And everyone was drinking. They go to the oyster roast. Everything's fine. They're having a good time. Once it got late, they all decided it was too cold. And it was late, and it wasn't a good idea to drive the boat back. But,
okay.
I mean, they had several people offer to drive them. But Paul refused. He was like, I'm not leaving the fucking boat here. This is my fucking boat. Like, very aggro Timmy. So
sounds like situations I've been in.
Yeah. So they left the oyster roast around 12 a.m. Paul and Connor wanted to go to the bar. So they go to Luther's bar.
Is that like the local town bar? Or is
I guess.
It just like,
I don't know. But as they're leaving Luther's bar, Paul gets violent. He starts like throwing chairs around, and he's clearly extremely inebriated, like incredibly drunk. And the friends were like, you shouldn't be driving. Like, let Connor drive. Like, this is not going to work. We should just, like, have someone drive us. And he was like, no, I'm not leaving my fucking boat. He said, this is my fucking boat, and I know this river, and you're not driving my boat. Verbatim. That's what he said. He was driving in circles, zigzagging. Like, friends were absolutely terrified.
And it wasn't an option for them to stay and have someone else take them?
Obviously it was. But see, the thing is I vaguely remember like
would he get violent if they were like, well, we're just going to stay here?
I don't know about that, but
I know some people like that.
He honestly might have, because he's a pretty violent person. And I mean, in my head, I'm thinking like, because they explain like Anthony didn't want to get in the boat, but Mallory was like, I'm not leaving my friends in the
if
boat.
Everyone else
and so Anthony's
going,
like, I'm not leaving my girlfriend.
Yeah.
So
okay.
They all just kind of went. That's how it ended. But well, that's how it started. Yeah, driving in circles, zigzagging. He would leave the wheel unattended at full speed, and Connor would have to like grab it, and like, yeah, really horrible. Everyone was yelling and screaming at him. They're like, what are you doing? And then Paul started yelling at Morgan for not being on his side.
Okay.
And then she told him, why would I? You're crazy. That's what she told him. And he said, you know what's crazy? Your father not making enough money to support your family. Yep. Morgan starts crying. Then Paul gets in her face, starts screaming more, and then slaps her. Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. So
your family's poor. I'm gonna hit you.
Yes.
Once.
Yes. That's their attitude.
Jeez.
Yeah, gnarly. And Paul's driving full speed. They hit the bridge at Archer's Creek. Anthony and Mallory fall out of the boat. Anthony comes up, and everyone's screaming for Mallory. They're like, where the hell is she? You know, the current is super strong.
Oh my God.
Anthony is like going under the water looking for her, but the current is so strong, he thought like he would die if he kept going down there looking for her. So Connor was knocked out. He woke up and called 911.
Was the boat like sinking at this point?
It was just, so it crashed, and it was like up on the rocks.
Oh, okay.
But everyone got like fucked up.
Yeah.
So post incident, the cops came first.
Okay.
Everyone had injuries. They were bleeding a lot.
Of course.
Paul was in his underwear, and he was only concerned about calling his grandpa.
Okay.
Anthony started screaming at Paul, telling him it's his fault, Mallory can't be found, and Paul starts to smile. Yeah. It took 15 to 20 minutes to get Paul into an ambulance. Because he was so inebriated, violent. He was violent and rude. Like, they couldn't get him into it. Paul calls his grandpa in the ambulance and tells him what happens, but says that Connor was driving the boat when it crashed.
Okay.
So water, search, and rescue go out to try to find Mallory. She's still not found. Cops, I actually don't know if it was the cops, but someone calls Mallory's parents at 4 a.m. This is 4 hours after the incident.
And they still haven't found her?
No, not 4 hours. This is like 3 hours after the incident. Yeah. Didn't even call the parents.
She's for sure not alive, right?
Didn't even call the parents. Like, didn't bother. And when
The police didn't call them?
When Miley's mom was like, we have to call her parents, the police were like, no, we don't want to create panic where there shouldn't be any.
Because Paul was involved.
Because the Murdaughs were involved. So, let's see. So the cops also, they wouldn't tell Mallory's parents where it occurred. So they couldn't go. But you'll figure out why. You'll figure out why.
Illegal. I'm pretty sure.
You'll figure out why, girl. So all the other friends were at the Beaufort Hospital with very serious injuries. Connor can barely talk because his jaw was completely swollen up and cut open. In his interview, you could see he has a fat scar. He said that his bottom teeth were in front of his front teeth.
Oh my God.
Like gnarly. And then Morgan's finger, she had all her skin like peeled back. She had to get stitches and surgery. And the police came to question Morgan 10 minutes after she got to the hospital.
Okay.
Alex and Randolph, Alec, you know, Paul's dad, Randolph, the grandpa, they show up very quickly. They wouldn't let the police interview Paul because he was drunker than Cooter Brown.
Who's that?
No clue, but...
Okay. Got it.
So then Connor calls his dad and tells him what happens. Connor's dad gets a call from Alec immediately after saying that Connor was the one driving the boat and not to worry because Alec will take care of Connor for them.
Okay.
Yeah. Connor gets taken to get a CAT scan of his jaw, and Alec whispers in his ear, just be quiet, I got you, just don't say anything. Like, you know, they're all like, they're fucking planning it on poor Connor. And in his interview, you can tell, like, he's like,
He didn't even want to be there.
No, he's like, I don't want to get into this. It's, like, really sad. Connor's parents arrive at the hospital, but Alec stops them from going into Connor's room. Then Alec and Randolph start talking to law enforcement. And then they go into Connor's room and tell Connor he's been identified as the driver. Yeah.
Based on two people that weren't even there.
Basically.
And someone who's drunk off his ass.
Well, they're law and order.
Great.
So while Morgan is in surgery for her hand, Randolph and Alec barge in claiming that they represent Morgan and that they're her...
They barge into her surgery?
Yes. And they're acting guardian for her.
What?
Yes. That's what they say.
That's definitely not legal.
Literally. Morgan tells the nurse, get them out of my room.
Good.
So, yeah, good for her. Finally, we're, you know.
God, can you imagine if she had brain damage and she couldn't speak for herself, what they might have done? Jesus.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It gets so much worse.
Oh, God.
So Miley's mom asked Randolph if there's any word on where Mallory is, because they still haven't found her. And he says, who are you talking about? And she goes, Mallory Beach. And Randolph says, oh, I'm pretty sure we know how that's going to end up.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we have 6 hours after the crash. Mallory's still not found. It's all over the news now.
Are they even looking for her at this point?
Yeah, they're looking.
Okay.
Mallory's mom wasn't allowed to see the scene. She wasn't even allowed to be on the scene. But moments later, Randolph and Maggie were at the scene.
Perfect.
Alec's brother, John, towed the boat out of the scene before there could even be a real investigation.
Okay.
He towed the freaking boat out. 72 hours after the crash.
You'd think that since they were lawyers, they would understand how to do it.
Well, of course.
Legally and still, like, keep themselves safe. Like, you know, you know those people who are on that side of the law that are like, okay, I know how this works, but we're going to do this the right way so no one can come back at us. And it's frustrating because you can't do anything because they did it the right way. Yeah. This is just stupid.
Well, they didn't have to worry about it. They had been getting away with it for 100 years.
But it's nothing this bad has happened though.
No, Paul was the... No,
because wouldn't her parents, like, I would raise fucking hell if my daughter, they were just like, yeah, whatever, your daughter's missing.
Yeah, no. The parents do go into like
it's her boyfriend's fault. Like, okay.
No. Mallory is dating Anthony.
Oh, okay, you're right.
Morgan.
Sorry, there are two.
Yeah, I know, and they all start with M, so it's really hard. And they explain it in the Netflix like show. They're like, "Oh, we're the 3 M's, we're besties,"
Oh,
and
God.
I'm like, "Oh, that's so confusing." But whatever.
Okay.
72 hours after the crash, still no sign of Mallory. Alec was trying to frame Connor, and news reports were saying one of the two boys were driving the boat. So he was absolutely framing Connor, telling law enforcement, telling newscasters, reporters that Connor drove the boat. So now they're casting on the news, we don't know who the driver was, but everybody knows who the driver was.
At least the news isn't saying, like, it was this little boy Connor. At least they're saying, well, could be one of the two. Because you know how media is.
Yeah, but I think that's because they had so much publicity at that point that what are they, like, the other kids are obviously going to be like, it wasn't Connor. So they have to put a little bit of, mystery.
All right.
So Connor's dad gets a call from Alec saying they need to have a sit down. So Connor's dad meets Alec at the law firm. It's dark. It's super late. Alec pulls out his phone, turns it off, puts it in the truck, and then tells Connor's dad, "I want you to know I'm not recording you." Then he brings Connor's dad...
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Then he brings Connor's dad inside and says, "You pick a room so you know I'm not recording you."
As if he has a reason to lie about it? Like, what? He wasn't even there.
Well, obviously he's being recorded.
Oh my God, okay.
And then Alec tells Connor's dad he needs to know where they stand because he can't mourn the loss of Mallory when he's worried about what will happen to Paul.
Okay, well,
yeah.
I'm going to start doing that when people come over. You're not being recorded.
Pick a room.
It's fine. Where do you want to sit?
While interviewing Connor on the Netflix Docuseries, he says that the Murdaughs can make people disappear. And he asked his dad if they were going to kill Connor. Yeah, so they make people disappear. Like, they're...
Where are we? South Carolina?
South Carolina.
Stay away from fucking South Carolina.
Seriously. Fuck South Carolina. It sounds gnarly.
Jesus.
Yeah, really gnarly.
I'm really sorry to anyone who lives in I would say we live in a small town, but not really. Never trust a small town. If you live in one, get out of there, please. Okay.
No, for real.
This is just a
this
PSA.
Is what happens.
PSA.
This is such a small town. Like, everybody knows everybody, so this is what happens.
I feel like that's where every horror movie starts. Small town, 100%. Everyone knows each other.
There's never been crime flying. There ever before.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Pillars of the community.
Yeah. Such a great county. Amazing.
Oh my God.
Okay, well then, okay. Anyways.
That's what they say about this town.
Well, we already know a lot of weird shit's going on here. So, 5 days after the crash. Still no sign of Mallory. The Murdaughs did not want Mallory to be found.
5 days?
Yes.
Tell me she was alive.
Mallory... the Murdaughs didn't want her to be found because then there would be no crime. Like, there wouldn't...
I guess. I mean,
7 days
still
after
injured like 4 people.
Well, oh, yeah, but there wouldn't be a murder,
I guess.
Because there'd be no evidence.
I mean, after a while, you can declare missing people dead, so technically,
I mean, they still said they were looking, and they still were, because 7 days after the crash, they finally found Mallory's body 5 miles from the accident location.
It took them a whole week?
Yes.
To find her 5 miles?
Yes.
From the boat?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Yes. You know why?
Why?
Because the fucking Murdaughs are friends with everyone.
Oh, God.
Mallory had blunt force trauma to her head, which caused her to drown when she fell out. So, aftermath of this. Mallory's parents, horrible, absolutely terrible. And Anthony, the boyfriend, he was so fucking upset. Like, he would go to the crime scene every day and wait. He wouldn't go home. He would sit there and wait.
I wouldn't either.
What
do you even do?
I wouldn't either. And he would sit there and wait for hours.
God.
He wouldn't go home.
That's so sad.
It's really, really sad, especially when you like see him like in the interview. Like I'm getting the chills right now because when you see him in the interview, like it's so sad.
I don't think I can watch this documentary.
Yeah, I don't think you should.
I'm already about to cry.
I know, me too. It's really sad. It's really sad. Anyways, aftermath. Mallory's parents hired Mark Tinsley, the family civil attorney, because they wanted justice and they thought the Murdaughs were going to try to kill them too.
Fair enough.
So Mark Tinsley knew the Murdaughs for over 20 years. He lived in like a town right over. He started by finding out exactly what happened the night of the crash. So his work. He discovered that the reason Paul wanted to go by boat was because he knew there would be traffic stops that night. He had funneled 6 beers before even leaving to the oyster roast.
6
Paul
beers.
is 5'7" and 148 pounds.
Okay, so our size, kind of.
No, we're not even 5'7".
I know, but I mean, 4 inches. I'm about probably 148 pounds.
I am too. I am too. I probably am too. Funneling 6 beers.
Jesus.
Fucking gnarly. Paul's blood alcohol was 3 times the legal limit. Obviously.
Expected.
Before the crash, Paul spit on Morgan, called her a fucking whore, and then slapped her. This is what he's finding out.
Beautiful.
Yeah. After the crash, there were about 20 police officers in the neighborhood, and not one questioned Paul.
Oh yeah, of course, I'm sure.
This was because the Murdaugh family had ties with all of them.
Imagine being those friends and just even trying to remember what happened that night, because I'm sure, number one, it was traumatizing even before the crash, because like your friend is acting like that. You're on a boat that's like soaring through the water in the dark at like 12 a.m. Like that's scary by itself. But also you've been drinking. Also the person driving is drunk.
Yeah, out of his mind.
Yeah, and then he's screaming at you.
And he's leaving the wheel unattended.
Hitting people after he's already made a scene at the bar that you were just at. Like, I have been through traumatic situations, and thank God I remembered everything. But I can only imagine, because I am pretty sure my brain would have just been like, okay, goodbye. Like, I'm not going to remember anything.
No, it's horrible. It's so sad, because the way they explain it, like all the kids, they're like, he was zigzagging. I was terrified. Everyone was yelling at him.
And they all said the same thing.
Oh, they all said the same thing. And the only reason that some people were on the boat is because someone else wanted to be on the boat. Because personally, this is what I think. It's probably wrong, but this is just my theory. Morgan had to be on the boat because otherwise Paul would beat the shit out of her. And so then Miley and Mallory were like,
we can't leave her by herself with them.
Yep. So then Connor and Anthony were like, well, I'm not leaving my girlfriend. So I think that's kind of where... Personally, I think that, but I don't know. I just don't know why else.
That makes sense, yeah.
I don't know why else you would get in a boat with someone that's so intoxicated.
I mean, I don't know how old these people are, but
they were... Shit.
Even if you're like 20s, like early 20s?
I think they were... No, they were all born in 1999, and this was 2019. So they were 18, 19.
Okay. Oh, well. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like when you're in that situation, at that age especially, you just don't really think about staying as an option. Like, you're just 100%. Like, 100%. You know? And unfortunately, that's just the way it goes, especially if you're drinking. Like, it doesn't cross your mind, which is why you need to drink responsibly in the first place. But
100%.
Yeah. But I mean, I've been in situations like that where I've been like, well, my friend, like, I can't leave my friend, you know? And you get into situations that you shouldn't be in. But that's probably what happened. I can't imagine.
I think that's what happened for sure, because, I mean, he's just going to let Morgan not come. Like, no, he is abusive. He's a horrible person, clearly.
I'm surprised one of the boys didn't, like, try and square up with him.
I mean, you're going to square up with the most powerful teenager in the entire city?
Probably not, actually.
Fuck no. He'll kill you. That's true. Or he'll have your dad kill you. Or he'll kill you, and then his dad will cover it up.
Yeah.
So fuck no. I would not fight Paul Murdaugh.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right.
So
scratch that.
So, the 20 police officers were in the neighborhood. Not one questioned Paul. The lead investigator for the first 24 hours was very close with the Murdaugh family, which is why John, the brother, was able to tow the boat out of the crime scene. There was many inconsistencies with the first 24 hours, and some statements that were made to officers were never in the evidence.
Beautiful.
Horrible. There were a few other officers that were tied with the Murdaughs that made the investigation hard to solve due to the poor police work, because it's horrible.
Are they doing it because they're close-knit? Are they doing it because they're getting paid off?
One of them, Morgan describes as Alec Murdaugh's bitch. So, I mean, this man has a lot of money. So,
unfortunately, that means power these days.
Absolutely. And he is 100 years of his family being law and order.
That's true.
That's a long time. I mean, police, what are they supposed to do?
It's like the mob bosses.
Yes.
They own the whole police force.
Yes. Yes.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Why even be a police officer in that town? Sorry, but
why even be one in general?
Probably true also.
Anyways. When they were at the hospital, according to some of the employees, Alec was trying to get into all the rooms and create confusion so there couldn't be a final say on who was driving the boat.
How?
He would go into all the rooms and be like, I got you,
whispers in their ear while they're asleep. Connor was driving.
Yes, he was doing all kinds of weird shit. He was sitting there making sure that it wasn't 100% that Paul was driving. He wanted to create confusion.
What a weirdo.
And it worked.
It worked?
Well, I mean, the news was saying it was either Paul or Connor.
Okay.
Yeah. No. So the phone records show there's many calls from the investigators to the Murdaughs.
Okay.
Not a single call was made to Mallory's parents. Mark hires a biomechanical engineer, which is someone that is an expert in the movements of the body and physics. They use crash dummies, all that stuff. They
simulated.
Mm-hmm. He ultimately discovers that Connor could not possibly be the driver, and
based on where he was found,
based on everything, because it was there was something about a rod being broken, and then the way Connor fell out and had injuries, and where he was at the time.
Good for them.
There was no way that Connor could have been driving. There was no way.
That's nice.
Oh, by the way, these are our earrings.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, he discovered there was no way. So, I mean, it was very good for Mallory's parents to hire this guy. Yeah. Because he discovered, this guy hired another person that discovered Connor could not be the driver, which is very important because I don't think anybody else would have.
Absolutely not.
No.
They're not gonna take the word of a bunch of teenagers.
And Mallory's family, Mallory's parents, they're going out and they're going against the Murdaughs. They're probably horrified for their life. But they're you know what? I need justice for my daughter.
It's their daughter, yeah. They probably didn't think there was anything else to lose at that point.
Well, is there?
No, actually.
No. You lose your child, is there? No. Anyways, April 18th, 2019. Paul gets 3 charges against him. He gets boating under the influence causing death, 2 counts of boating under the influence with great bodily injury.
Okay.
3 months after the crash, it's the first day of the arraignment. Alec acts casual. He's whatever, I got this.
Wait, 3 months after the crash?
3 months.
So this was all happening in 2019?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought it happened a while ago and he was just getting charged in 2019.
No, it happened in 2019, but he just got charged in 2020.
Oh.
I'll tell you.
Okay, because it takes a couple years.
Yeah. So he acts casual. Paul got special treatment because who he is, he took his mugshot in a polo shirt. He never wore an orange jumpsuit, never had handcuffs, nothing.
Must be nice.
His attorney made a plea of not guilty to all 3 felony counts. The judge set personal recognizance bond of $50,000.
Recognizance?
Is it recognizance? Whatever. Of $50,000.
Really?
Paul never went behind the bars, never had handcuffs, nothing.
Well, that's stupid because I got the same bail for less.
Well,
literally the same. Or more. They actually
bullshit.
were trying to charge me $60,000 in bail. And I definitely got put in jail, which is rude.
Rude?
So, my parents were not happy about that one.
The disrespect.
Honestly, they thought it had something to do with race, and now I believe them.
I think so too. I'm not going to lie, I think so too.
That's lovely.
But that's based on, yeah. Anyways, 2021. Paul moves to the cabin in Moselle. People are still partying and drinking with him and hanging out.
God,
but
drinking
Buster
with a
Murdaugh,
murderer.
He was expelled from University of South Carolina for plagiarism.
Oh.
And so Alec and Maggie's marriage start falling apart.
Fuck this son who committed murder, pretty much. Our son got kicked out of school for plagiarism.
Now we're getting divorced.
Fuck? Okay. What a wackadoo family.
Dude,
what the
no,
heck?
You have no idea. June 7th, 2021. Alec Murdaugh calls the police saying that his wife and kid have been shot and they're both not moving.
What?
Yeah. Don't read it.
Sorry. I got excited.
It was all over the news for a few days, but very secretive about the details.
Alec called.
And
his wife and son.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Were shot.
Which
and
son?
They're not moving. I'll tell you.
Buster.
No.
Paul?
Are you kidding me? Why would it be Buster?
I don't know. He seems to get the short end of the stick.
Buster does?
I mean...
No, Buster's mom loved him. Okay. Paul's didn't. Paul had Gloria.
Okay.
So, news said that there was a killer on the loose. Alec told the police that...
Paul.
Alec told the... Well, no.
Not anymore, I guess.
Alec told the police he was home and he woke up from a nap at 7:31 p.m. and he couldn't find Maggie and Paul. So he texted them and said, I'm going to go visit my grandpa, my dad, Randolph the third or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So he claims to be back at the Moselle house at 10:20 p.m. where he found the bodies. Maggie was
back
shot.
To the house where he was taking the nap.
Yes.
Okay.
But he went to go visit his parents,
mm-hmm.
Because they weren't doing that great or whatever.
Okay.
And then, so Maggie was shot multiple times in the chest and the back, and it looked like she was running away.
Okay.
Paul was shot once in the chest and again in the neck and head, and he was not recognizable.
Someone was very angry at them.
Oh, yeah.
I would be too, probably.
10 days after the shooting. Murdaugh family speaks on the news, informing everyone that Paul had been getting threats from people that didn't know. So then they announce a $100,000 reward for information on the killers, which obviously,
sounds suspicious.
Anthony was the lead suspect because, Paul killed his girlfriend. But they tried to blame Connor and Morgan as well. And then the sheriff's office and SLED said they have no leads, but there's no worry for the public safety.
Okay.
So you say there's a killer on the loose, and then you say there's no leads, but we're not worried about you guys.
It's definitely these 3 kids.
So that's
you
bizarre.
guys don't have to worry because they've already committed their revenge.
That's bizarre.
All right.
So Paul was shot by a shotgun. There were multiple pictures on social media of many shotguns at the Moselle property.
Oh, okay. It was of him?
No,
oh, God.
No.
Okay.
And then Maggie was shot with an AR-15 rifle with a very specific type of bullet.
So 2 different guns.
And shell casings.
Okay.
At the scene. The Murdaughs owned that type of gun.
Interesting.
And it was never turned over to the investigators.
Okay.
So while investigating Maggie and Paul's murder, a journalist named Will Folks got an anonymous tip about a highway patrol report for the death of Stephen Smith in 2015.
Have we heard Stephen? Is this a new person?
This is a new person.
Okay, I was like,
6 years before Maggie and Paul murder. July 8th, 2015, a civilian called to report a young man. Yeah, a civilian called to report a young man laying in the middle of the street of a rural highway in Hampton County, right around the corner from his car. Okay. So then Will Folks, after he hears this tip, he starts listening to all the interviews back from 2015. And he's like, some of the interviews, they say that he had a mechanical issue with his car, and an officer came to the scene at 4 a.m. to find him with severe head trauma. Some of them say that it was a car crash. Some of them say that he got hit by a car, but all his shoes, everything was intact. So he could not have
just laying on the floor.
Yes, he could not have been hit, but he had severe head trauma.
Was he alive?
So they believed it was a car accident, even though there was no evidence of that. One report out of everything suspected foul play, but nobody dug deeper into it. Yes, he died. Sorry, didn't mean to laugh. It was just...
Okay.
So...
That's not weird.
No. Will Folks finds Buster Murdaugh's name in the report.
What?
Rumors that Buster was involved, but no evidence to support it. Stephen tutored Buster. Stephen was gay. And there were rumors that him and Buster They were rumors that him and Buster were intimate together and that they wanted to come out to the Murdaugh family. But being gay was severely frowned upon, especially, first of all, in South Carolina. Second of all, to this big, prestigious family. No. No way. And so Stephen calls Buster because he's like, oh no, I think his car ran out of gas. He calls Buster and he's like, can you help me? Buster was on his way home from a softball game with his friend.
It's always
People think Buster picked up Stephen and made it seem like they were taking him home, or they took him home or whatever. There's no 100% evidence on any of this. So, but the day Stephen died, Randolph Murdaugh called Stephen's dad saying he wanted to take the case free of charge.
Suspicious.
Yep. No follow-ups after this. Nobody questioned the Murdaughs, even though their names were in the reports.
Take your case for free, but also I'm not going to do
any
work for you.
Yes. Later on, Morgan gets a message, when her and Paul are still dating, she gets a message from a girl saying she thinks the Murdaugh boys had killed Stephen. So she confronts Paul, Maggie, Alec, and Buster in their house and says, what happened? And then Alec laughs it off and says, we wouldn't kill that faggot. Yeah. Horrible.
I don't like this family.
No, they're terrible. So, February 2nd, 2018, Maggie Murdaugh calls 911 saying her housekeeper fell going up the brick stairs outside.
Going up?
Gloria. This was Miss Gloria. The Murdaugh family told police she had tripped over the family dog and fell backwards on the stairs and hit her head. So basically what happened was...
What?
So Maggie calls the police and then Paul gets on the phone with them and he's like, well, I tried to pick her up and get her up so she was faced a different way, and then...
trying to hide evidence.
Yes, 100%. And then...
we all know how this works.
So basically, Alec says that Gloria told him, the dogs tripped me. I fell from the dogs, and he tells multiple reporters this. Gloria was airlifted to the hospital where she was treated for multiple rib fractures, pulmonary confusion, and subdural hematoma. She was in the hospital for a few days, not responsive, and can't relay what happened. She began to decline in the hospital. She got pneumonia, had a heart attack, lost her pulse, but was revived and then left in a deep coma.
Okay, I'm sorry. This does not happen just because you tripped over a dog on the stairs.
Yeah. She gets moved to hospice. She died February 26, 2018.
So this was even before the boat incident.
Yes. So was Stephen.
Okay.
So we then find out that Alec was addicted to painkillers. And earlier in the year, Gloria found pills taped under Alec's bed. Gloria told Paul about this because she was too scared to tell Maggie because she would be fired or killed. And then Gloria dies within the same year. I mean, she found this out earlier in the year. February, she dies.
What motive would she have for telling anybody that he was like, why does it matter? He's a big lawyer with lots of money. He's going to be addicted to something, probably.
Well, you'll see why.
If it's not alcohol, it's drugs.
Yeah. So there were rumors that Maggie or Paul had pushed Gloria down the stairs. But
Paul wouldn't have pushed.
He wouldn't have, because that was his mother. So no. Gloria Satterfield death aftermath. So while leaving Gloria's funeral, Morgan reports that Alec told Paul he was going to sue himself for wrongful death and give the money to Gloria's family. Like the kids, because they lost their mother on his property, like a very nice gesture. A private investigator calls the caretaker at Murdaugh's Moselle property, Ronnie Freeman, to see if he knew anything about Stephen Smith's death. But he brings up Gloria's death instead. He says that Alex said he talked to Gloria. So, while leaving Gloria's funeral, Morgan reports that Alec told Paul that he was going to sue himself so that he could get money for the insurance for Gloria's family. Because, specifically for Gloria's sons, so that they could get the money because they lost their mother on his property. So, a private investigator, I can't ever say that word, jeez. A private investigator calls the caretaker at the Moselle house.
Okay.
And his name is Ronnie Freeman, and asks him if he knows anything about Stephen Smith's death because they reopened that case. And Ronnie brings up Gloria's death. And he's like, well, Alec was never there. Even when the EMS left, he still wasn't there. So
suspicious.
But Alec had told all the investigators, well, I talked to Gloria before she went to the hospital. I talked to her and she said the dogs tripped her. So.
But she was unresponsive at the hospital, right?
Yes.
So even.
Yes.
Doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. So June 22nd, 15 days after Maggie and Paul's murder, the law firm discovers that Alec is misappropriating money from his clients. Call Alec, tell him he needs to resign. He resigns. 3 months after Maggie and Paul's murder, Alec calls 911 and says he was just shot in the head on the side of the road in Hampton County.
Beautiful.
While changing his tire.
He survived a shot to the head.
And that he was okay, but he couldn't drive. So he was airlifted to the hospital. Lawyers lied to the reporters about where he was because they didn't want them to be there. Then the attorney goes on the news and says Alec tried to commit suicide. And he wanted to make sure that Buster got the insurance money. So that's why he framed it as a murder.
Makes sense.
Turns out, Alec hired someone he knew to shoot him in the head. Attorneys say it was his drug dealer, Curtis Edward Smith. Alec goes to rehab a couple weeks later. Police begin to look into Curtis Edward Smith. He was a former client. Curtis testifies he did not conspire with Alec to kill him and thought he was being set up. In an interview, Curtis made the comment, "If I had shot him, he would be dead."
As you would think.
Yes. If you're getting shot in the head, I mean, in the,
if someone intends to shoot you,
yes,
you think you'd be shot.
Yes. In the description, it says that Curtis, like in more detail, it says that Curtis tried to stop Alec from killing himself. So, who knows what actually happened, whatever. Anyways, they found over $160,000 of incremental checks, most under $10,000 from October 2020 to May 2021. Alec's attorney milked the drug addict plea and say he was delusional and paranoid and all that stuff, and that the money he misappropriated was used entirely for drugs. But the reporter, Will Folks, he does the math and realizes that the amount of money that Alec had spent on the oxy was 114 years worth of oxy. And that's if someone is an addict. So,
like dead, basically.
Yes, a hardcore drug addict. But Curtis was depositing checks days before the double murders of Maggie and Paul, and he gets more directly after the murders, some more than $24,000. So they think Alec was framing him. September 13th, 2021, SLED announced they're opening an investigation into Alec for the financial crimes. They had a search warrant at the Moselle house. There's a YouTuber that got a tip that they were searching the Moselle house, and he gets his drone and he puts it up and, starts droning that shit.
Doing the Lord's work.
Yes. A few days later, he looks at the footage, sees the Murdaughs loading 8 guns out of the house.
Completely necessary.
Yeah. And then 2 uncased rifles into it as well. They loaded up a few more things, got a hunting dog, some stuff at the kennels, then left. People were like, oh, well, this could be a hunting trip.
Sure.
I don't know why you need 10 guns to go hunting, but whatever. Now...
They just have really bad aim.
Yeah, I guess so. Alex is under investigation. People begin to look more into the Gloria case, because it happened on the same property. The coroner finds out Gloria's death was never reported to a coroner, and no autopsy was performed.
Love that.
The death certificate said she had died of natural causes, but all the reports say she had tripped and fell. Alec Murdaugh was the only defendant listed in this settlement, and insurance gave him $500,000 for personal liability in wrongful death and $5,000 in medical payment. Earlier, Alec had stated that he was going to give the money to Gloria Satterfield's children because they lost their mother on his property.
How does someone die on your property and you get paid for it?
I have no idea, but Alec ended up getting $4.3 million, and the Satterfield kids did not get a single penny. They had no idea.
Wonderful.
Alec had been misappropriating millions and millions starting in 2015, and then stole Satterfield's money in 2019. He was arrested for the Satterfield misappropriated funds. Then, October 19th, 2021, Alec appears before the South Carolina court judge, Clifton Newman. Judge denies his bail. As he should.
As he should.
And then a little more on the Paul and Maggie double homicide. We have the coroner said the time of death was around 9 p.m. Alec has stated he was not at the house until 10 p.m. and he finds the bodies. But the investigators find some sort of fluid from high velocity splatter on his clothes that place him at the scene. And also, the police got video evidence from his son, Paul, who is dead, but he got video evidence at 8:44 p.m. with Alec and his voice in the background. So places him at the scene.
The truth comes out.
It does.
Always.
July 20th, 2021. Alec goes to court facing 2 counts of murder for Maggie and Paul. Attorneys blame it all on his drug addiction. Investigators now have permission to exhume Gloria's body. July 14th, 2022. Wait. That was backwards.
Oh, what?
I don't know. Alec was charged with double homicide. He pleaded not guilty.
Okay.
So I think I was supposed to put those...
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways. March 2nd, 2023. Alec Murdaugh is convicted of both murders. The jury reached a guilty verdict in less than 3 hours.
That's so recent.
Alec received 2 life sentences. The motive that they say is to get the attention off of his financial crimes and to gain pity from the people. The estimated amount of money that he had misappropriated and stolen from his clients was $8.8 million. Today, Murdaugh admits to lying about Gloria telling him that she died from the dogs.
Wow, who'd have thought?
To get the insurance money. But he still insists he never killed Maggie and Paul.
Why?
It's insane.
Let me involve myself in murders to relieve the suspicion from this financial problem that I have.
Yeah, genius. Who the fuck? Well, when you're Law and Order, you can do whatever
the... confuse everybody.
When you're Law and Order, you can do whatever you want.
Oh my god, I can't
imagine. I can't imagine. Like, isn't that insane?
Yeah, and honestly, this was so recent.
So recent.
South Carolina?
He was charged...
South Carolina, are you okay?
No.
What is happening
No, clearly not. He was charged a few months ago.
North Carolina, are you okay?
Oh, God, we need to check on that one next.
Dakota?
Dakota!
Both Dakotas?
Both Dakotas.
Listen.
Are the Dakotas okay?
just gotta figure it out.
What about the Hampshires?
Obviously. South Carolina's not okay.
Yeah, come on. Check on your homie North.
Check on your homies and the North.
Mm-hmm.
And the South, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
For being fair. Wow, what an episode.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. I'm pretty sure all that information gave me hives.
Are you serious?
From listening. So
honestly, I believe it. It was really intense.
I can't blame it on that story because I've been getting them like this whole month. I don't know why, but
I mean, it was a really intense story.
I'm gonna blame it on that one.
We're gonna blame it on Alec Murdaugh because he sucks.
And Paul.
And Paul. Well, Paul's
and
dead.
Maggie.
Well, Paul and Maggie are dead.
I don't care.
Honestly, I don't either. They both sucked.
They give me hives.
At least you have someone to blame.
All right.
Thank you for listening.
Wow. Good
This
job.
was my first podcast episode where I'm talking, so hoping that...
Very formal.
Formal? Really? Okay, good.
I feel like I was listening to a college lecture.
Ooh! I don't know if that's
TED Talk, if you will.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but whatever.
It's a good thing for me.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure. I mean, it was 11 pages.
Facts, baby.
Yeah, good. I wanted to make sure everything was in there in case you had a question. And so I want to be like, oh, well, yeah, there it is.
Well, I did ask questions and you did answer.
See?
Much unlike me, when you asked me a question, I'm like, I don't know.
I'm like, yeah.
Didn't do that research,
well,
sorry.
I don't know. I have all the sources here. Including the Netflix doc. I have everything. I listed it all. I almost made a works cited, but then I was like, I don't need... I'm sorry. I can't help it.
Listen, scholarly essay. That's all I'm saying.
Scholarly essay. It was 11 pages, so...
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Well, it was just as long as our other episodes, so we're good.
You did a good job.
Really? Yay.
Proud of you.
Maybe I'll host some more in the future.
You should, because again, sitting pretty over here.
I know, it's so nice.
I enjoyed it.
It's so nice.
My voice is not lost. I can talk tomorrow.
And it gets boring when you're just sitting and listening all the time.
So good.
So let's do it.
Do some more.
Okay, I'll do some more.
Thanks
Good night.
For hanging out.
Thank you. Good night.